So Miss Margie has 4 kids. She has homeschooled and they are currently in school, so she's experienced both of those situations. She just recently launched a new business, Forge and Flourish, like she mentioned to us. She just finished editing her first book. She is a trained copywriter. She's also a freelancer and works for STGP for myself, doing social media marketing and copywriting and such. And she's a professional organizer. Yeah, she has like a designation or a certificate that says professional organizer. And I so want her to come in and organize my house and my life for me. So thank you, Margie, for doing this.
Yeah, so I grew up the youngest of 10 kids. So it was busy and we didn't have a lot of money, but we were in a very traditional kind of Mennonite family where my mom did not work. She stayed at home. That was all she did. And so I didn't grow up with a mom working, and I didn't really know how to deal with that because mom was just always around. I had all 4 kids. I never worked through any of that time, but we homeschooled for 4 years, and halfway through that time I felt like what I was doing with homeschooling was all about my kids, and there was a point where I just needed something that was for me. And I had heard about professional organizing, and so I launched a business with not really a whole lot of thought put into it, but I did that for 4 years, loved it, and then COVID hit. And I couldn't go into people's homes anymore, so I had to kind of pivot. And I had been doing social media for STGP for a while, was loving it, and I thought, well, let's just do this full time. So that's basically what I've been doing since February, so for 9 months. And then along the way, we added copywriting, and doing some editing and some of that stuff along the way. So a little bit of history on that. I found this and I just wanted to share it because I think it's pretty funny. I think that basically every day I kind of hit all 4 of these at some point, but it's there's something about working from home that I find is not very well understood by other people. It's like people think, well, you're just at home, you should be able to do whatever. I should be able to phone and ask you for coffee and do whatever, and you should be able to just jump and run and do whatever. So that's been one of my biggest lessons to learn, is that to set those boundaries and take it seriously, and allow other people to take it seriously as well. The first thing I have here is to create healthy sleep habits. I think that is one of the first thing that gets neglected, because especially if we have little kids, like Sarah was saying too, like staying up late when they're in bed. I do that. My kids are ages 8, 10, 15, and 17. And I still do that because they're loud and they're around, and they need things, they need me, they need my time and attention and all that. And that's all good stuff. And I do like to give that to them in the evenings. So when they go to bed, I'm like, oh, the house is quiet. I have all this time. I should be able to do stuff. But it doesn't work very well. I find that if I'm working late, it's just really, really hard for me to settle down, go to sleep, and then insomnia. So I think it's really important that we take care of ourselves, and whatever that it looks like for you, have a bath, read a book, drink tea, listen to music, maybe you have a skincare routine that you've been neglecting, some of that stuff that is just pure self-care, and that just gets your body like organically winding down in order to get to sleep. I read every single night. It doesn't matter how late it is, I read a book, because it kind of, for me, it's the best way to detach from what I've been doing and kind of just ease me into that sleep mode. Start your day with intention. So I think that a lot of us, myself included, reach for our phone first thing in the morning. And my alarm is on my phone, so that obviously is something I do. But I actually leave the do not disturb on until I've kind of gone through my morning stuff. Like I get up, kind of get ready for the day, and then I get the kids up and off to school, and there's all that happening. So, but I try and be intentional before that, where I'm taking care of myself, getting ready for the day, maybe doing some stretches, maybe doing prayer, meditation, like just getting my mind and body kind of ready to ease into the day and not just like jump into answering emails. And one thing I do every morning, if possible, that has really, really transformed my life with kids at home, is I walk my kids to school. school is almost a kilometer, not quite. And as long as it's not super cold, we walk. And there's something about that, getting in the fresh air, and I get that time with my kids. I feel like it's a double whammy because I'm getting that exercise, fresh air, connecting with my kids. My 10-year-old wants to talk, and he just talks all the way. And it's like a really good connection time. So I feel like I'm hitting everything there. I'm taking care of myself, and I'm getting inspiration for my business as I walk back, and I'm connecting with my kids. So that has been huge for me, actually. Dress for success. And I had to laugh when I saw what Michelle was wearing today, because I'm talking about not wearing pajamas. But I find for myself, if I kind of just roll out of bed, greasy hair, sweatpants, I don't do anything productive. I don't feel like I'm in that zone. I don't feel like I'm respecting myself enough to be creative or be productive. So there's a certain amount of getting ready, and I don't mean like wear a pantsuit and tight polyester blouse or anything like that, but find something comfortable. I wear leggings basically all the time, but then I throw on like a shirt that makes me feel kind of put together, kind of with it. And if I do have to jump on a Zoom call, I'm there already. So I think it's important. It needs to be comfortable if you're at home, but it also needs to make you feel kind of like a badass. Oh, whoops, did I miss the other one? Yes. Set daily goals. So that's the other thing. The goals, the tasks that you have for each day, write them out and leave them in front of you. I will forget stuff if it's not right in front of me. I also use an app. I use Microsoft Planner, but there's lots of task managing apps where you can just put your tasks in. You can cross them off, which is kind of a bit of a reward to cross them off and they're out of sight. But they definitely need to be in view so that you're not just neglecting them. Create a dedicated workspace. So not everybody has a really large house with excess bedrooms. We don't. We have 4 kids. We have no excess space anywhere. But I have just a corner of my master bedroom, and I will show you a picture of that. So that'll be the next one. So it doesn't need to be a big space, but you do need a space that is dedicated for working. Like if it's your sofa, that works. If it's your kitchen island, whatever that space may be, you need to have something that is dedicated, that's not going to be other people throwing their stuff on it. As long as you're comfortable and are able to work, find a spot anywhere. This is my current little, it's the corner of my master bedroom. There's nothing else in this corner. I don't allow laundry hampers to come here. I don't allow anything else to sit in this corner. This is solely my work corner. It's very sparse because I do move it around occasionally. Like I'll go sit in the living room one day if I feel like it, just for creativity. I do move it around a bit, but I always pick a space where I'm not going to be too interrupted. And some of that is, I understand, a lot harder when your kids are younger. So some of you, I love that Kim got you guys to all talk about your challenges, because it helped me to see if I'm going in the right places with some of this. Creating work hours and time blocks. If you take anything away today, please take this one, because it has made all the difference. When you're at home, it's very hard to divide the line between working and living. And I think you need to decide, what are my work hours? So for me, I tend to try and work 9 to 5, but if you have young kids, maybe they go to bed early and maybe you stretch that time, or you work slightly more toward the evening, whatever that time is for you. You pick those hours and you stick with them. Literally set alarms. Set alarms for when you start, set alarms for when you quit. And then so I didn't put it in here, but I also think that it's important to kind of schedule in meal times, because it's very easy for me, at least, to get working and just kind of run through lunch. So schedule that in too, if you have problems just kind of skipping through lunch. Creating time blocks or time blocking is the biggest stress reliever that I experienced this summer. I was so stressed out and had anxiety, and Kim knows all about this because I would come crying on her shoulder. But I started blocking off days, actually. So Tuesday I block off as my create day, and Thursday is my execute day. And those days are religiously reserved for working. I do not book coffee with friends. I do not book shopping trips. I do not book appointments on those days. Those are my work days, and very little is going to interrupt those. Obviously, their life still happens. Kids still have needs, and some of that needs to be a little bit flexible. But I just found when I kept those days for those specific sides of my brain, it made a lot of difference. Get the kids involved. So as I said, my kids are ages 8 to 17. They can do a lot. How much can your kids do? So during this COVID lockdown, my teenage boys, I sat down with them, we made a plan. They make dinner 2 nights a week. They do most of the house cleaning. They do most of the baking. They do all their own laundry, make their own lunches. They get themselves up and off to school in the morning. I do nothing of that. That is all fairly new. Last year, I was still micromanaging them, and I got to the place where it's like, no, they are basically adults. They need to learn this. They need to take care of themselves, and they do very, very well when you give them that responsibility. If you do not have teenagers, most kids ages 5 to 10, and this obviously varies somewhat with different kids. I have an 8 and 10-year-old. They do all of this list. They load and empty the dishwasher. They get themselves breakfast in the morning. They make part of their lunches. I usually do, like if it's something hot going in the thermos, I'll do that. But they make most of their lunches. They can put laundry in the washer. They can sweep and vacuum, take out the trash, fold the laundry, wiping walls and cabinets. And that was one thing I wanted to mention for Sarah and Ashley, if you have little kids. When my kids were little, sometimes I would give them this damp cloth and I would just say, start wiping, like do the baseboards, do the walls, whatever. And it kept them busy, and it really didn't help a lot, but it was just something to keep them occupied so they weren't, you know, in my face half the time. And don't be afraid to delegate beyond your kids. I have a friend just down the street. She runs a business. She's very busy. And during COVID, they haven't been able to use the daycares as they would like to. So she trades babysitting with her other mom friends who run businesses as well. And it's a win-win. The kids get to play with each other. The moms each get a break, and they can then dedicate that day to catching up on whatever they need to do. Some of my more busy weeks, and I actually got this idea from Kim, I'll use like HelloFresh or Chef's Plate or something like that to deliver just that week or just that day, and then I cancel my order because I find them fairly expensive for long term, and because we're a family of 6, their meal sizes really aren't big enough for us. But I'll often buy just the 2-person package and use them for lunch when it's just my husband and I, and it just takes that 1 meal or 2 meals a week off of my plate. And finally, hire a house cleaning service. I have had a lot of guilt over this because I was raised Mennonite and I should be able to clean my own house. But it's not always possible, especially when you're really working full time. And then when the kids are home, I don't want to be cleaning. Like I don't want to be taking that time to clean. So if it's in the budget, definitely make that happen. Hang on a second. I'm gonna take a little drink here.
There's all sorts of comments in the chat, Margie, about how everyone is loving this. So just so you know, yeah.
Am I going too fast, or does there anyone have any questions?
I've been keeping an eye on the chat, and no, they're all just saying, this is so good, this is so good.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Okay, create a trigger. This is something I just learned this fall. 2 years ago, I went to Italy by myself to do a copywriting retreat. And the girl who was teaching the course is Laura Belgray. She's from New York City, and you may have heard of her, may not, but she has a website called Talking Shrimp. And she posted an article this fall on, I don't know if it was Medium or one of those websites. And she talked about how she's trying to write a book, and she was often unmotivated and often procrastinating, not getting her writing done. And she met with a personal trainer friend of hers, and this personal trainer said that in order to create a habit, you need to create a trigger that tells your brain, okay, this is what's coming next. Excuse me. So she talked about her trigger. Her trigger was getting iced coffee and sitting down to write. Excuse me. And I was noticing that in summer, I would, okay, Kim, I'm just gonna mute myself a little bit here and just take care of this.
Totally. Cough and clear your throat and whatever you need to do. Oh.
I'm not sure.
So
if I
the
can...
mute is
there.
in the bottom left-hand corner. Yeah, there you go. As Margie coughs and clears her throat, goodness. Yeah, I have, so Carmen Murray, if any of you know her, she is all about habits and creating healthy habits. And so this is something that she talks about a lot too, is creating, so an example would be grabbing your shoes, your running shoes, and putting them by your bed if you're wanting to exercise in the morning. And then when you see those running shoes beside your bed in the morning, that's like a trigger that gets your brain thinking about doing the actual exercise, and it also just makes it easier, and so you have less excuses. Is that along the same lines, Margie?
Yeah, it's similar. So yeah, she talked about grabbing an iced coffee just kind of was this trigger that got her brain into that writing mode, and she knew that, okay, we're going there. It's like an event or habit that happens without a whole lot of effort, and it just can mark the start of what you next want to, what next action you want to take. So I read that article, and it really impressed me, because I had noticed through the summer, I would walk to Tim Hortons in the morning, grab an iced coffee, and when I got home, I just felt like writing. And so that's become my thing. It's often a walk followed by a drink, and it just puts I think part of it is when I walk, I get a lot of ideas. Like I take tons of voice notes when I'm walking, because stuff just comes to my brain all the time. So that gets the creativity going. And then the caffeine keeps me going, I guess, is maybe where that goes. But I do definitely notice that if I, a little bit of fresh air and then a nice little comforting drink, whatever that happens to be, it just gets me there right away. Be flexible. Yeah, I have 4 kids and a husband, and my husband works from home. I don't know if I mentioned that yet, but he works from home, and that's part of the struggle as well, is there's always another person in my space making noise, interacting or wanting to interact. And how do you, it's not always just the kids. There's often other things playing into that as well. So life will happen. There is going to be noise and chaos and distractions. And these are just a few of my top recommendations. Comfortable set of headphones, wireless. I use Beats. They're not super high end. They're not noise canceling. They don't have to be. Sometimes I'll just throw them on without any music, just to kind of quiet down things. But also find an artist or genre that you haven't listened to before that's maybe just really calming. Or YouTube has tons of stuff. I often find something instrumental because it's calming and it's not distracting. There's no lyrics or anything. And then lock the door if you can. This I only do for really high, intense, focused stuff that I absolutely cannot be disturbed for. And I often put up a sign, do not disturb. But if you have kids that do not read, I would suggest doing like a stoplight kind of sign. And your kids can learn the red light means don't, mom's in a meeting or mom can't be disturbed right now. The yellow is, come in quietly. And green could be just, you can come and go as you want. And that way it's kind of like setting boundaries with them, but they know that there are times that they can approach. It's not that there's always a no, but there's a time and a place for that. Learn to disconnect, especially in the work that I do, which is, social media. It feels like it can be very hard to disconnect because it's always there. One thing I learned to do with my STGP work is some of the communication apps that I had to just take them off my phone and put them on another device. And I could keep that for communicating with clients while I was in work hours, but then set that aside when I'm on weekends and evenings when I don't have to answer every message instantly. And in that disconnection of technology and work, learn to connect with our family. I've not done well with this through a lot of this 9 months that I've been at home, because when I haven't organized my time properly, then I feel like by evening I'm still feeling like I'm trying to catch up. I'm running behind, and then I'm still trying to work and the kids are at home. So what I suggest is when you have that alarm ring for the end of your workday, whenever that is, 5 or 4 or 6 or whenever, you put your phone away. The phone disappears for a while. You may need to check messages once in a while, but that phone needs to go away for a little bit so that you fully are, you know, kind of detoxing from being on and being at work. Spend some time playing. This is also a hard one for me because I tend to be very driven to be productive. I'm kind of a lazy productive because I'm not super efficient with my work often, but I feel like I always have to be making something that is work. So sometimes you just need to take the time to play with the kids or just play in general. Just do something that serves absolutely no purpose whatsoever, but just to have fun. And in that allowing ourselves to disconnect from work and connect with people around us, learn to say yes a little more. I find when I'm in that space and I've got the work taken care of and I've turned that off, then I do say yes more than I'm saying no. I'm not constantly pushing my kids off and saying, oh, I don't have time for that. So I think in the end, that's kind of where we want to get with this whole thing, is be able to say yes a little more to the things that we really want to do. And to close this off, I just found this quote that I wanted to share with you guys. Productivity is never an accident. It is always the result of a commitment to excellence, intelligent planning, and focused effort. So it's not necessarily easy. It's not necessarily going to be something that happens overnight, but these are all things that I've learned through the last 9 months working at home, and I hope that it helps you guys as well.